And welcome to RealAg Live, everybody. I'm your host, Shaun Haney. Thanks a lot for tuning in today. We've got a great show for you today. If you want to participate in today's discussion, all you got to do is leave a question or a comment in the comment box, whether you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. We take questions from all the platforms, and we'd love to hear from you today as we talk about innovation and machinery and a whole bunch in the area of harvesting technology. Okay. So let's get to it here. Let's bring in today's guest. It is Jamie Pegg. He is the general manager at Honeybee Manufacturing. Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Great, Shaun. How are you? And we want to say thank you, first of all, right off the bat, for letting us be a part of RealAg Radio. Great show. We enjoy it all the time and look forward to doing it today.
Well, you know what? One thing at Real Agriculture, man, whether it's the website, the live broadcast, the radio shows, we like to have fun.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have a lot of fun this afternoon. So
absolutely. Okay, harvest is underway in parts of Western Canada and the East, of course, as well. It's amazing as we look at Western Canada, Jamie, how different so far this year looks versus last year. Totally different conditions.
It's absolutely different, Shaun, and it's amazing because down here in the southwest corner, we've got a lot of farmers that are actually finishing up their harvest. And if you talk to them on April 28th or even on July 1st, would they even be starting harvest this time? A lot of those guys would say, well, we might be a week in, but with the way the weather's broken, down here we've had almost 50 days of straight heat, which has been great harvest weather, and a lot of guys have it off, which has been somewhat the way that it's been across Western Canada and a little bit in the plains where, you know what, there's been really good conditions. It's allowed combines to run for a lot of hours each day and allowed the headers to do a great job of combining the crop without a lot of effort as compared to last year, some years gone by. But there's still a lot of time left. There's probably still a lot of weather to happen, and we're going to probably find some different conditions that we didn't think about today, a couple weeks down the road in different locations. And in saying that, there's some places that naturally, and most people know about, have been hit hard by weather, a lot of crop down, and we're going to say we hope they have a honeybee header to get that crop up into their combine. So naturally,
of course you would, absolutely. You should say that. You are, hey, bias noted. Okay, and what's interesting is when we do have good conditions like we have this year, it really does allow us to put some of these product claims, like you've got the AIrflex, it's pretty unique. It really allows you to put those products really, really to the test and see what they're really, really capable of.
It's really unique. One of the things that we like about the AIrflex and the AIrflex platform is that we like to think that it'll work well in all conditions, but this is the first year really since it's been released that it's just been smooth sailing throughout the early fall. We do some test work overseas, and we've got a lot of tables overseas where that feedback comes back earlier. It's been great, probably better than we anticipated, and we're seeing very similar things take place right now in Western Canada and in the plains as they finish up their summer wheat and get into the fall crops and get that done. So we're excited about having that table go out, work as hard as it can for as many hours as it can, and make farmers and dealers happy.
What did you learn from last year? There was a lot of crop that's on the ground. We fought blizzards and snowstorms and rain and matting the crop down in the swath. Or what did we learn last year?
When we look at it, it was really a good year for honeybee because one of the things about the AIrflex is that we've got the combination of rigid and flexible cutting taking place at the same time. So those really adverse conditions that you're talking about with the snow falling, laying the crop down, matting it all up, we were able to really shine as a product in those conditions because we were able to get all the crop, and in a lot of cases do it quicker than most people expected, which was a real bonus. We never want to see the farmer have to endure those conditions. We don't want to see them, but we've actually spent a lot of time developing a product that's prepared for those conditions. I know one of our farmers, he had a 45-foot head out that he was running with in the middle of January, getting it, and then he actually picked up some corn pans and put it on and ran it from there. So what that weather did for us as a company was really allow our premier product to shine, and we were really, really thankful for that.
How do you test new products and innovations? Every company does it differently. How do you do it?
We're privileged. The owners of our company, Glenn and Greg Honey, are farmers. And one of the things that they always speak about is that we're farmers developing a product for farmers. And so in our selection of our research and development group, our product development group, we focus on getting farmers in that understand agricultural problems and want to come up with solutions for it. So what we saw is as the market was becoming a flexible market, we used both Glenn and Greg's minds, along with multiple people on their teams, probably 15 people over time, where we've been working on the product development for 15 years. It starts out with an idea, probably one prototype that we put in the field and see whether that idea works, see where we need to formulate it. We'll then develop it and work on issues where we have weaknesses year after year. So by the time that the AIrflex product came out, we had 9 years of testing in that product. We were able to put that testing into place, put it out, but then that's when the real testing begins. You put 15 pre-sale tables out there, you see what their performance is, you see that the feedback is all really positive, so you grow that market, you put it out a little bit more. As well, what you see is that the market changes a little bit. There's more expectation on your header, there's more expectation for how it fits up to your combine. You've got to adapt to that. When I look back, we have our original prototype, the very first one of the AIrflex that went out. It was actually with hydraulic motors on it, a completely different concept than what we have today.
Oh, wow.
And yet that's just how it evolves and how it grows, and guys have a lot of fun doing that.
So that's actually interesting to be able to look back and see, okay, what did we start with here? What was the original idea? Where did we finish? And that probably tells you a lot about the importance of those years of testing and the feedback loop that you have to try to, when you do, the worst case scenario I could see in terms of product development is to rush something to market. It goes out into the market, not totally tested properly, and it just totally backfires on you.
Yeah, you know what? Developing a product is extremely difficult, and I think it's one of the hardest things in the agricultural industry. And I think it's really understated in a lot of ways, just how well people do, how well lots of companies do at developing their product. Because unlike car manufacturing, you can have a track out there, and you test your different conditions as you go through. Basically, for harvest equipment, for example, you've got an extremely small window. In Western Canada, you might have 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks if you're really lucky. You can extend it down into the plains, into the U.S., and if you want to go internationally somewhere, you can do that. But that costs a ton of money. It takes a ton of time, and lots of companies are in a situation, someone like us, where we're working on developing a local market as well as growing an international market with it, and to be able to test in all those conditions is a real challenge. I think the other thing that's really unique in ag is that every year the conditions are different. You see something every year that is different that people haven't seen before. And, I sit with our developers, I sit with our owners who have been farmers for, 60 plus years. And one of the things that they always say in about December is, well, I wonder what next year will bring that we haven't seen so far. And it never, ever fails. There's always something out there that they've never seen before. And what we learn from it, we grow from it, and we try to put it into our product to make it the very best possible thing that the consumer can have.
Yeah, for sure. I would, like, when I look at a lot of the innovations that are out there too, it's interesting to hear about the farmer roots to the company, that tie still exists, because so many of the greatest innovations that come to the market are because a farmer was looking to solve a problem.
Yeah, and quite honestly, that's the roots of Honeybee. If you were to talk to our owners, this is not something, honeybee manufacturing is not something that they would have ever thought of. They wouldn't have thought of selling product into, I think it's 27 international countries now, into parts of Canada, the U.S. Really what it was they started out with, in a lot of cases, a swather, and they saw it, and they saw some things that they felt they could improve upon it, and they built that. And quite honestly, their neighbor wanted one, and the next year another couple neighbors wanted one, and pretty soon a couple neighbors from Montana wanted one, and it just grew and grew, and all of a sudden you've got this international company that took place just because we're solving a problem. And that's really what development is. What is the problem? How do we solve it? And how do we do it the very best for the farmer?
I got a couple questions here from the audience. Jim Hale, who's watching in Lancer, Saskatchewan, he says, "Darn, I'm late." Jim, you're not too late. There still is room to get your question in. And I got a question here from Phil Shaw. Phil's in Dresden, Ontario. He wants to know, do you sell honeybee headers in Ontario and Quebec?
We absolutely do sell honeybee headers in Ontario, Quebec. We work with a distributor down there called Argus 2000 who works with various dealerships. They do a fantastic job of setting the dealerships up. They'll also work one-on-one with you. And they do a short liner that way, and they do a wonderful job. So that's Argus 2000 in Ontario and Quebec, and they'll point you to the right dealer and work through it. And, myself having some Ontario roots, I'm always excited to hear those guys from Ontario talking about the honeybee product because it does a fabulous job down there, and we're growing in that marketplace. So we're really excited about that. So thank you for your question.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Okay, let's talk about the AIrflex specifically. We've been talking about innovation and rolling out new features and new things based on every year being different. What's the differences that we can expect between the 20 model versus the 21?
You know what? We've got some great innovation that's out there right now and growing through. The very first thing is the cam reel. We've got a reel with a little bit different action on it. We've had to work for, I'm going to say, 8 or 9 years on that reel to really perfect it, to allow our crop to flow better on the drapers to get to the combine. So it just feeds a lot better. And we knew that there would be an improvement with a cam reel, but I don't think we knew how great of an improvement we would see. So that cam reel just scoops the crop up. The other thing is, because we have a header that works on the ground, cuts low to the ground, we need to get a reel that gets out in front of the machine so it picks it up so the cutter bar can cut that crop and cut it as low as it can. So this cam reel has been a great improvement to that product. At the same time, we've come up with what we call low-cut knives. So if you're to take our standard knife right now and compare it against any of the competition's knives, you would see that our knife cuts lower than anybody else's. And the whole point behind that is both the innovators on the knife side of things wanted to make sure that the farmer got every bean or every kernel possible into the combine. And so we went to a really low cut guard. We can cut it down on the ground. And one of the great things is for edible beans, lots of times that's been, basically you plow that up, but there are lots of people that are using the AIrflex now to actually cut edible beans, and they're very satisfied with the results, even though the beans are completely on the ground. We've taken a low-cut knife system and gone a little bit lower. I don't think we can go any lower because I think we'll be cutting dirt then, and that's not a good thing for the knife. So we're there.
Hey, Jamie, can I ask a question about the reel? What, in terms of fingers, are you going with the standard, just I don't know how you would describe it. Like, what do the fingers look like?
The fingers are a little bit longer. They're out there. They'll be somewhat standard. They're a plastic finger, but what we've got on our reel, when you talk about fingers, is we've got variable spacing on our reel. So what that means is that your fingers can be, the standard spacing is, I believe it's about 5.5 inches, I think is what it is. But we've got bats that we've seen that work really, really well where we double up the finger spacing because we can put it in really easily. I think it's a 3/8 wrench, and we have a spacer that's really a placeholder in there. So one of the things that we've tried actually when there was a very poor crop, and we never ever want to have a farmer with a really poor crop, but we've almost made a complete bat with our fingers because we can do that. And the addition of the fingers guarantees that the farmer is going to get every piece of wheat, every soybean, every lentil that they can, every pea that they can with that. And so that's an adjustment that can make based on the condition, and the farmer can do that himself. It's really, really easy to do. So it's a really unique reel, a really good reel, which ultimately makes the machine that much better. Okay,
talk a little bit about the platform.
The platform. So one of the things that we've done is we've taken our AIrflex platform and we've made it rigid. There's lots of people out there that today they're using the flexible header. They're buying the flexible head because it's on the market, but there's still a lot of people that don't really want or have a use for that flexible head, and they're looking for something different, something new and innovative. So what we've done is we've come up with a rigid platform based on the AIrflex, which is called the RDX. It's been very popular overseas in Australia. We've done some stuff in Europe. We've got a few of them out here in Canada and the US, and it's something that's growing, and we want to make sure that people are aware that they can still buy a rigid platform if that's what they want, and naturally it's a little bit cheaper than the other product.
Oh, okay, interesting. And we talked about some of the new features, but some of the things that have made it such a successful product, you stick with it. You don't change just to change.
No, and that's one of the big challenges in the marketplace is to be able to make it so that the farmer and also so that the dealer at the service end of things can manage the head, can look after the head continually. So we've got a lot of features that we're really, really proud of. We've kept the table really, really light. Lightweight has been something that we've always wanted to do. We always keep it that way so that guy gets better fuel economy in his combine, which meant a whole lot more about 6 or 8 months ago than it does today, but it'll mean a lot again. The other thing that we've done in terms of any of our features is we've tried to keep them simple. Our owners enjoy being able to fix their machines when they need to fix them. They don't always want to have to call a dealer, call a mechanic. So everything we've tried to do is very, very simple, and we're certainly seeing that as this product gets more exposure. We actually get less phone calls as people understand it's really, really easy to use. And finally is just the operating of the machine. We started out where we were a little bit more complex. We've been able to simplify our electronics and make it really, really easy. In fact, my 5-year-old goes out, gets on the combine, looks at it and says, "Dad, this is for this and this is for this," and away we go. So he's got it figured out and teaches me how to do it. And I think the final thing is that we've got a mechanical drive on all these machines, which was a step back. I talked earlier that we started our innovation with hydraulics.
Yeah.
We actually made the transition to a mechanical drive, which, if I can be really honest, when it was first suggested, everybody sort of looked at themselves and thought, what's that development team doing? But it was a fabulous innovation because what had happened is the mechanical drive and all of its components have greatly improved over the last 30 years. And it took our group's thinking and our team's leadership to be able to say, you know what, we can make a mechanical drive work, make it simpler for the farmer so that he's able to fix almost anything on his farm without having to troubleshoot hydraulically or anything else. And those are things that we've kept the same to be able to really, really help the farmer with his costs, make harvest a better experience.
Hey, got a question here from Brian. He says, hey, I'm a marketing guy, so just clarifying, this is called an AIrflex, but it's not an AirReal, correct?
That is correct. The AIrflex is based on the suspension that we have on the machine. An AIrflex table can work in either rigid or in flexible conditions. And the way that works is, as I said, my 5-year-old will push the button on the component, and we've got an air compressor on board that fills up the airbags, and that cutter will go from a flexible cutter bar into a rigid cutter bar. We've gone a step further with that with our newer machines, and we've put in airbag suspension. So your header is almost suspended. An AIrflex is suspended with suspension as it goes across the field to really smooth out the ride, to be able to allow the operator to find that sweet spot all day long, just not for a short time during the day when everything's exactly right. And I think the third thing is with air, we can increase or decrease the amount of air in the airbags so that you're always comfortable with where that cutter bar is riding on the ground to get the best cut that you possibly can.
I want you to explain something to me. So I was in prepping for RealAg Radio today. We're doing some segment sponsorships with Honeybee, and one of the things in the read here that I'm going to say is, I get shaves the ground at an unbeatable, but you say 7.5 miles per hour, more power, better fuel efficiency, less hassle. Explain the better fuel efficiency to the audience.
The better fuel efficiency fits into the weight of the machine. So we've done some testing where we've compared competitor machines to our machines in terms of the weight. Our weight on a 40-footer might be as much as 2,000 pounds less than what a competitor's head is. So just being able to do that weight means the combine's got to do a little bit less work. Second thing is, because it's mechanically driven, we don't have all of the oil flow, all of the pumps and everything going, which drive it down. And so we've done an estimate. That said, I believe it was over, and don't hold me to these numbers, but I think it's over 5,000 acres, that there's about a $1,200 savings, or there could be a $1,200 savings with the head. So that's based on fuel efficiency, gas consumption, and we're really proud of that, because that was one of the pillars that we wanted to put in place when we developed this product, and we've seen it come to fruition and can talk about it in the marketplace.
So there was a YouTube video going on that actually a member of the audience had mentioned to me regarding putting some 50-foot headers on some new Ideal combines. And boy, nice video, and it got shared tremendously. What was all that about?
Well, we actually had a pretty local farmer, Mitchell Farms. I'll shout them out because they've done lots of good things for me. Mike Mitchell is sort of the head of it, and he's got lots of YouTube and different things out there. They came to us just over a year ago, said they were going to buy these new Ideal combines, and they wanted to put 50-foot heads on them, which for us, the 50-footer was something that was developed. There are people using it, but not 6 combines all put together. So because of the new combines, because of the unique opportunity to put 6 heads on one farm, my marketing manager, Spencer Gross, said, hey, we need to shoot some video of this. And I looked at him, I said, well, what do you think? And he says, well, I think we can make it work. So anyways, Spencer's a pretty sharp guy. We let him go. And he put together just a fantastic video that, quite honestly, has gone over, I think it's over 1.3 million looks today, which is just absolutely fantastic and huge in the ag marketplace. So between Mitchell Farms and Mike Mitchell, between Spencer's great idea and the Honeybee 50-footer on those combines, has made a real impact worldwide.
Man, that's great. They have 6 Ideal combines?
They have 6. They do. They average about 1,400 acres a day harvesting, if you can imagine that. So they've got it going, and they're out there right now in year 2. And I know that they're having a great time with the Honeybee heads. We've got somebody watch them, but we really haven't had anybody out there fixing, which is always a good thing. We're always thankful for that.
So the cool thing about the Ideal is you can put whatever AGCO logo on the side that you want. Do you know which one they went with?
Do you remember? I don't remember which one they went with, actually. I'll get all the audience to tune into the video. We'll have it go up a little bit more, and maybe that could be a quiz, a new component of the show, Shaun. We can put a little quiz on from last week.
I like it. Phil, again, from Ontario, wants to know, what is the widest header that you make? What is the narrowest, and are they all drapers?
Okay, the narrowest header that we make in the AIrflex is 25 feet. That's the smallest we use it. It's got lots of fits. Some in some parts of Ontario, actually, they use it. Lots of Nebraska area and the Bluffs, Iowa, different places like that, as well as overseas where they're limited with the size of fields. So 25 feet is very popular in the AIrflex. Today, the largest size we have is 50 on the AIrflex itself. On the AIrflex sister, we've got an RDX, and we've got 60-footers that are running over in Australia right now as test heads, as completed R&D test heads. We're very excited about what we've seen there. The farmer's happy, our distributor's happy, and things are very good there. And we got a few more things that I don't want to disclose right now, but they'll be coming out in the not too distant future about size and width of heads, which will keep Honeybee on the map.
And when you've got a 50 or 60-foot header, you're going 5 to 7 miles an hour. That it is hard to grasp the volume of crop that is going into that feeder house with every foot. That is just phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I think one of our goals is to make sure that the header is not the inhibitor of the combine. We want the operator to be able to max the combine out if that's what they want to be able to do. So when you get a head that big, you got to have a pretty thin crop to be able to go 7.5 miles an hour. But those guys go. They get it up. They go 5.5 miles an hour. It is phenomenal to see. I know when we built it, we get 60 feet, we get it all built up, and you stand at one end and you look down at the other and you think, a Major League Baseball pitcher throws the ball 60 feet, 6 inches. Yeah. And that's the length of this header. So it's really, really cool, and to see the distance there, and you get behind it, and to be honest with you, you sit in the combine seat, you look out, you see 30 feet one way, you see 30 feet out the other way. It's a pretty intimidating experience at the start, but then you put it down, you don't have that extra weight because it's lightweight. It's like a lighter head, a smaller head. You start going, and you start to get some comfort with it, and does a great job.
Thank God for auto steer. That is a long ways out there to try to manage your overlap and your miss, right?
Absolutely. I don't think, I think when we talk about innovation, when you talk about how combines have changed, the different things that we're able to do with that, I think that auto steer is critically important. I don't think we'd be seeing headers this big without that innovation in place.
So how much communication is there between a company like Honeybee developing a product that attaches to the combine? How much communication is there back and forth with the manufacturer? So you can provide like, please don't do this, or they're telling you kind of, do this or don't do that kind of stuff. What's that look like?
You know what? I'll say there's multiple OEM manufacturers out there, and your relationship with each of them is a little bit different, if I can say that. Yeah. And understanding that as a short liner, we compete in their full line equipment marketplace. But in saying that, we've got some excellent relationships with those OEM producers. They will give us tips. They'll give us some information back. But I think they also withhold some of that information because, quite honestly, they want their own product going on that head, going on that combine rather than ours, which, when we turn it around, that's what we tell our customers. Our heads need to be better. And to date, for 40 years, they have been. And that's what our goal is for 40 more years, is to continue to make a better head that the farmer and the dealer wants to put on the combines to have successful harvests and to have successful years in their dealership.
Okay, we've been talking about the Canadian market, but how important is the international market to a company like Honeybee?
The international market is huge, and you really get to see how significant it is this year in the COVID year, because the timing of that, because of our international sales, because ag to date, certainly with harvest equipment, has been down in North America. Honeybee actually has seen an increase. We've seen an increase in our market share, and we're extremely excited about that. But the reason for that is just because of the development of those international markets, of the European market, of the Australian market, part of the Asian market, a little bit of the South African market. We're really, really excited about that and excited about the growth potential in those places. But in saying that, we still need to understand that we're a Saskatchewan-based company. Our backyard is critically important to us, and we're really excited about what the farmers are doing here with our product as well.
Yeah, we've seen it at Agritechnica. Canadian innovation, Canadian manufacturers like yourself really taking the technology to the rest of the world. Farmers in Eastern Europe, you mentioned Australia earlier, really a thirst for Canadian technology.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and it's really fun going over there and being a company that shows its product, because the Canadian booth, we participate as a Canadian booth. We attract an enormous amount of people who are just really excited to see what the innovation is that's coming from Canada. There's lots of people that come in. He says, there's no way I'm going to buy, but I just want to see what you're doing, because I know that's what we're going to see on our farms in the next couple of years. And, I think that the Canadian manufacturers, I think the North American manufacturers as a whole need to be really proud of that, but need to be encouraged that we continue to need to innovate, because that's what the world wants, and that's what keeps Canadian agriculture at the forefront.
Oh, well said. Well said. We definitely represent well. We'll say that. It's pretty cool when you walk into. There's two buildings that usually have Canadian groups, and it's pretty cool to see that Canadian flag up in the air there at that show every 2 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, so Jamie, what's next here? Like, how much room is there? Like, where are we? I asked Tom Wolfe about this with sprayers all the time. Where are we on the innovation curve with headers? Is there a lot more innovation to go, or where are we at in that pendulum?
I think there's a lot more innovation to go. I'm not sure that all of that innovation is going to be to make the product bigger. I think a lot of times when we think about innovation, we think about bigger, and it's fun and it's really exciting to do bigger, but there's only so much land that can handle big equipment. And I think behind that, there's going to be innovation with that. When we look at it, We look at what we're doing overseas with our single table swather. That's an innovation really that started 30 years ago. We sort of put it away and we brought it back out 7 or 8 years ago based on some of the things that had changed in European policy. We thought there was a fit over there. That product has taken off in Europe, again in parts of Asia, just swathing, because swathing is becoming more significant, more important, and that's one of the ways that they can harvest their crop. So I think we've got to watch, when you talk about innovation, you have to look at government form, but much more so public opinion behind that and what they want, and that will probably alter how we harvest and how we innovate, and what that looks like. What that is, I don't really know for sure, but I know that it's going to be an adventure figuring it out, and I know that we'll make some really positive steps down the right path, and I know that we'll probably take some really bad steps down the wrong path. But that's part of innovating, that's part of developing and designing, and that's part of the joy of coming to work at Honeybee every day. So,
well, hey, who knows? Maybe you're going to be developing little 5-foot or 10-foot little headers for robots to be going through the field harvesting. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. You see some of the work that they're doing there, and that's where it is. And then you have to think, well, how does that change the marketplace? How does that change who works on the farm, what the skills are for those people, and how do you feed into that? So there's a lot of innovation to come. I'm just not prepared to say here's where it's going, but I'll tell you what, Shaun, if you come and tell me. You tell me the secret, and we'll pay you a lot of money. So
I just ask questions. I I don't have many answers.
If one of your listeners out there knows, we certainly would be interested in their input. So
absolutely. That's all a part of the feedback loop. Hey, Jamie, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you joining us here today on RealAg Live.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate the opportunity. We appreciate what you do. And for your audience out there, agriculture is the backbone of what we're doing. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today for RealAg Live. Tomorrow we're going to continue with this harvest theme. We'll be talking to the experts at PAMI about managing your harvest loss. So that's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow on the show. And you can join us every day, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for RealAg Live. It is at 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Mountain, and I so appreciate you joining today. Thanks everybody for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Live, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.